The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
The BBC's Andrew Moon is brief and to the point about the Coventry result.
It's not very often fans cheer at the end of a 5-1 defeat, or strictly speaking about 2 minutes before the end when Oxford's result was confirmed. But the Pompey fans knew the job was done and championship survival was ensured. This was a game too far for Portsmouth, and Coventry were just too good. A huge amount of physical and emotional energy was spent last week. The 9-point return put them on the brink. Wrexham finished the job for them on Tuesday night. It's a funny old game. If you told anyone after the 6-1 drubbing at QPR on the 21st of March that Pompey would have been safe with 2 games to go, they would have thought you were crazy. You might have been, but you'd have been right.
The words of Andrew Moon, writing for his employers, the BBC. He does a very good job, and he does it very, very well. It's a difficult job, and part of the reason it's a difficult job is because, as he is BBC, he has to be sort of completely neutral. And indeed, if you wrote down the words that he says when he commentates, it would appear that he is offering an unbiased set of observations of the way every Pompey game is going. But if you listen to his voice, both him and Guy Whittingham, you can hear that up in the top of the stands with their earphones on and their microphones against their upper lip are 2 young Pompey fans who are desperate for Pompey to win. You can just sense it in their tone of voice, in the way in which they describe a Pompey shot going just over the bar or when a goal goes in. And of course, their big difficulty is not being too enthusiastic when a goal comes in. But whoever's not actually on the microphone, if Moon is doing the commentary, and therefore Whittingham has yet to supply his insight into the goal, you can often hear Guy Whittingham off mic going, "Yay!" which is so endearing, so endearing. And they'll be pleased because they're commentating, if we've got them together again, right through next season on the Championship. This is what John Messino had to say to BBC Radio Solent immediately after the Coventry game.
The investment we've put in terms of the infrastructure has been amazing, considering where we were as a club when Eisner came in 2017 and previously, when the fans saved the club. But we're still a long, long way behind other Championship clubs, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the training grounds, staff networks, all of those sort of things, so we have got to keep going with that. I think we have to take a view in terms of where we want to be with the playing budget, and I think that's going to be a conversation over the next couple of weeks. If we don't invest, on and off the pitch, I think we'll perennially be in this relegation fight and we need to try to move away from it. Messino said he was keen to establish the club's strategy over a 5 to 10 year period, adding, "The strategy over the past couple of years has been very short term, and we've just been making sure we're focused on staying in the Championship. We have spent money, but we have brought players in who are not necessarily ones for the future."
So there you have it. You suspected it all along, but at the end of the season, now that we are staying up, he can all begin to rehearse his attempts to get the club, and that is to say the owners who have the money, what we think they've got the money. They appear to have plenty of money, but we don't know what the state of his actual bank balance is compared to the multi-billion-dollar assets that he owns in other companies. He might not just have any running cash. The bloke who did what he did to Sheffield Wednesday was one of the richest guys in Thailand, or was it Malaysia? I can't remember, should know. But he didn't actually have any cash. It was all wrapped up in bricks and mortar and investments. So we don't know whether the Eisners can write a couple of cheques, or 3 cheques or 4 cheques for £5, £6, £7 million players, which is probably what John Messino, being realistic, is going to be asking for. But I think the most significant thing in that little set of statements by John Messino is that he is keen to establish the club's strategy over a 5 to 10 year period. Quote, unquote. Those are his exact words. Now, he has almost certainly been listening carefully in the company of one or more of the Eisners who will have been saying that that is their strategy, to establish a strategy over a 5 to 10 year period. What does it mean for the fans? We might be hosting Spurs or West Ham next season, who knows, in the Championship, but we won't be hosting Arsenal or Liverpool or Manchester City in the Premier League. I think it's clear, sorry to have to say this out loud, for about another 3 seasons. John Messino is asked immediately after the Coventry game, what is the keynote emotion that's running through your system right now?
Relief, I think. It's really difficult to separate the two. I think if it had been a battling draw or a narrow loss, maybe we would have felt a bit different. But just the nature of the game, because it was pretty much over at 4-1, we're just waiting and clinging on to the news of relying on another side, which isn't nice. But I think once the dust settles, I think it's an extremely good achievement. I think that particularly where we've been, I would have absolutely snapped your hand off for this, i.e. survival with 2 games to go at any point in the season, probably from sort of October onwards when we started having a tricky patch and we lost some of our big players. So I think when you put it into context and you take everything into account, we can be very happy.
Yeah, tough.
Obviously the second season running, we've come into a league this year where the 3 sides that have been promoted have really gone again, all 3 of them. So it's difficult. I know we've had a couple of the points deductions, but that's probably skewed the bottom of the league as well in terms of points needed to stay up. And it's been tough. It's been a really, really tough season because of all of the factors that we've had to contend with. Least of all the injury list that we've had, and today was a perfect example of how we've just not been able to sustain that when we lose 2 of our top players at the weekend. But when the dust settles, we earned tonight, if that makes sense. When we lost to QPR, we hadn't earned it, and we hadn't earned the right to lose like that. Tonight we'd earned it because of the brilliant 3 weeks preceding this and the brilliant results that we picked up, and we have enough points to get it done and get it over the line.
Yeah,
like I said, it's given us the ability to come here and lose a game. If you look to this fixture at any point in the season, it looks like a game that Coventry are favourites to win, and tonight, but because of the nature of the game as well, it's actually for 45 minutes we were quite good. We were solid anyway, and then as soon as we gave the second goal away, it was we couldn't get near them. We just got completely run all over, and when you play against the best side in the league, that's what happens. But yeah, look, I think when we all calm down and assess the season, there's going to be loads that we want to improve on. But we've known that from a certain point in the season, and particularly it was reflected in our recruitment in January, that we had to be very, very short term. We had to make sure we stayed in the league. It makes a massive, massive difference for the football club. And when you're down there against the likes of Leicester, West Brom, Blackburn, massive sides, it's I think it's a very, very obviously important few weeks that we've had, and overall a very good achievement.
Just finally,
The words of John Messino after the 5-1 defeat by Coventry. I don't think there are many managers who have escaped relegation 2 seasons running by the skin of their teeth, who are absolutely 100% supported and admired by everybody connected with the club, even all the fans, I think. Even the odd moaner, I think, seems to have headed for the hills. We have a listener in Swindon who has sent me an email thanking him for mentioning him a couple of days ago. I haven't got the email up. I should get it up just so that I can, it's polite, isn't it? Where are we? Simon, I think his first name is. And he finishes his thank you to me by saying that he thinks that John Messino is our greatest asset. Simon MP. He said, I fear that if we don't stay up, Messino will be off. He's our biggest asset, in my opinion. I totally agree with that. But I happened yesterday to go to watch some junior cricket because a young relative of mine has suddenly discovered the game, and he's a fast bowler, and he didn't know it. He had a go at his school in the nets, and they said, "Where's that come from?" So he was opening the bowling for his school against a very posh school called Seaford College, which is just so endowed with sporting facilities that it knocks any football club, and I'm including in that the Manchester Uniteds and Liverpools and Arsenals of this world. The facilities they have for sport at Seaford College knocks any football club, any sporting facility, actually, I would think, in the world, for 6. And so they lost, my boys' team. But I spent the whole of the first innings talking to one of their teaching staff, who is a former footballer. who played for Brighton until he suffered what he described as, they said, a very unusual injury. He had to have his pelvis repaired with metal parts because of a clash on the pitch, which was engineered by the other guy on him, but he wasn't in the slightest bit resentful about it. He said there are times when he'd like to have found out just how good he could have been, but he had to retire from the game as a result of that, very young. But he's kept in touch with football, of course, and when he found out that I was a Pompey fan, he said, "You're going to struggle to hold on to John Messino in my book," he said, especially if you avoid relegation, because that will be seen as yet another successful achievement of his. And he is just storing up so much goodwill right across football in every respect by being a good manager, of course, that's first and foremost, by being an exemplary colleague and employee, by always saying the right thing, by always making the right decision. But if he doesn't, he'll say so. And sometimes he'll say it was his fault when it wasn't, in order to protect some of his players and colleagues. So he is we know he's becoming such an impressive commodity that we only hope that there's a clause in that extra long contract that he signed with us. Do you remember? They offered an extension to him, to his contract. It was a good year ago now. There's a clause in there that says that if anybody wants him before his contract is up, then they're going to have to pay Pompey some pretty heavy compensation. But that is my concern now. Delighted as I am, of course, that we are staying up. But at the same time, it means that there's another feather in the cap, the already highly decorated cap, covered in feathers, of John Messino. And however, we look forward to his activity over the coming transfer window with bated breath and fingers crossed that we're able to bring in some players who are going to improve the side sufficiently for us to have a successful mid-table season, possibly even a sniff at some point or another of getting into the playoffs. But even that is probably coming a bit soon. He's still young, remember, and he's got a long, long way to go. I met his agent a few days ago, and I'll tell you about that another time.